Dot, 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 dot. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant with State of the Spark, and I am super pumped you're here today. I'm pumped I'm here today, and that's probably what we're gonna cover in a morning cup of gratitude. But we'll get there in a second. What we're doing today is we've got a lesson on when it's okay to be oh so wrong. When is it okay to be wrong? When is it right to be wrong? We're going to cover that. And then I want to reframe some things for you about planning. We're going to talk a little bit about that this morning as we get started on whatever day of the week it is, Monday. But before that, you know we've got other news. We got news that's hopefully going to elevate you. And this one actually super intrigued me because there is a real life Harry Potter's Daily Prophet. We'll get into that, as well as some ice sculptures in Oklahoma and some fun that people are having with that. But before everything else, you know we're going to cover a morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for today? If you don't comment what you're grateful for today, did you even see this video? Comment in the comments below. Let us know what you're grateful for. I want to hear what's getting you lit, what's getting you on fire. Let me know what you're grateful for today. What I'm grateful for today, several things. I'm grateful for just another day that I'm looking outside. It is gorgeous out here. I can see the clouds moving off the lakes. It's stunning. I'm grateful for Marissa's crew, the Spark Explore Arizona 2021 crew. She's ended up with a Fabulous 5 group that's actually done the tester hikes, and we just dropped them off yesterday to hike through the Kissimmee Desert Scrub of Central Florida. They're actually walking through a designated dark zone. This is an area of the country or reserved for no lights, low lights, and elimination of light pollution. So that's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for them because they're inspiring. It's always so fun to go drive to the places I get to drive when I drop Marissa or pick up her crew. And when we drop them off and see them off, we always get to end up in very interesting places. We drove our Subaru high and low, back roading it a little bit with the musician Mike MacArthur. He's super fun. And his lovely wife, Jennifer Smurr. We were driving around. And it was just so fun to get back into the backwoods of Florida and drop them off. So that is what I'm grateful for today. Let's talk about other news. Boom. Other news. In other news, a plumber artist has done his winter creations. Boom. Again, there's the link right, or the headline. Whoop. The headline right there. Boom. Long story short, what happens when a plumber of all people, leaves his sprinkler going through negative or temperatures below freezing through the Oklahoma winters? Well, he calls it art. Boyd Poteet of Hennessy, Oklahoma, has spent the last 40 years leaving his sprinkler on to do its thing. What he's learned over the years is that he actually sets up a metal scaffolding and turns on an industrial sprinkler. And this thing just goes, and it goes throughout the night, and it ends up creating these massive ice sculptures. The water comes from a nearby well, so it costs very little, relatively speaking, sustainably. You know you shouldn't leave your sprinkler on during the runner and most other places, but it does come from a well. And when the conditions are just right, when the conditions are under 32 degrees, Boyd Poteet gets awesome sculptures. And I even think I have a thumbnail here for you. Let's drop this here. Boom, boom. Drop this here for you. Boom. There should be a thumbnail that pops up right there. There it is. You can see in the comments in the thumbnail how these ice sculptures actually grow. And they say that when the wind doesn't blow and the temperatures are roughly below 20 degrees, you can actually watch the ice sculpture grow. So boom, that is other news number one. What happens when a plumber artist leaves their sprinkler on during an Oklahoma winter? It's called art. Let's talk about how deep AI has actually made the Daily Prophet possible. So A new AI algorithm, yes, I'm talking about artificial intelligence algorithm known as deep nostalgia, has been programmed to bring old photos to life, including very old ones where we have no other reference documentation. So, deep nostalgia is an AI algorithm that's actually been surveying just huge databases of people's faces. Along with that, the researchers decided that they wanted to partner with online ancestry genealogy company known as MyHeritage. And they wanted to partner with them to do, yes, a PR piece, but also bring your ancestors to life. So what they've done is this. They had the Deep Nostalgia create an entire database of features based on nationality, region, shape of eyes, shape of brows, and it did a lot of research. Along with that, they then put in pre-recorded videos of actors known as driver videos, and these videos drive how the AI brings these to life. So an actor or an actress like me or Marissa would actually get in and just do like a glamour shot session. And then the AI would overlay from its database of what it knows about this person's face, plus features that it basically triangulates and creates a three-dimensional rendering and lays it over the face of the driver videos, and you get to watch your ancestors come alive in real time. So you've got to see this. This is literally like the Harry Potter's newspaper called the Daily Prophet. And you can see this link, and you even see a photo of an old gentleman right there. And if you click that, you'll watch them look around. Now, obviously, the Twitterverse and the interwebs decided that they were going to have a heyday with this, including scientists. One scientist, an archaeologist, actually used the service on ancient statues, including Alexander the Great. So if you want to see these old photos come to life like the Harry Potter's The Daily Prophet, or if you're just interested in how individuals, even like Alexander the Great, looked as they moved and observed the world, you've got to check out the article in the comment. It comes to life in a scary, interesting way. Now, of course, we are using phrases like creepy and eerie. Man, dial that back. This is actually creepy interesting. This is so disturbingly, hauntingly interesting to watch these old photos come to life that I can't even with that. So check out the article. You've got to check it out. Super interesting. And if you have photos of family members that you either miss or you were never introduced to, you can use this service too. Go to MyHeritage. Again, not a sponsor of the show. Go to MyHeritage. Go to the article. They actually have a link in the article, and upload photos of your loved ones. And it'll create an animated GIF of whether that's a sculpture, whether that's old photos, whatever that is. If you upload your photos to that, you will actually see these ancestors or these old loved ones who you haven't seen in a while come to life. And it is wild. It is wild. And it actually points to the future of how AI will actually allow or partner with humans to deal with grief. Very interesting article. I've already posted the link right there. You heard it here first. That's crazy. Other news. Let's talk about when it's right to be wrong. So check this out. Starbucks, as we know it today, has tens of thousands of locations around the world. And I know I love to go there when I don't want to be at my office, when I don't necessarily want to be at home, when I just want to get away and read a book. I go to get a cup of coffee. Is it about the coffee beans? Not necessarily. Is it about the espresso? It's about the espresso experience. I can't tell the difference, and I managed Starbucks for years. Starbucks has come a long way in the last 30 or 40 years. Do you know where Starbucks started? Most people know. Starbucks started at Pike Place in Seattle. And if you don't know, you can actually go to Pike Place, Seattle, and meet and visit the first Starbucks. But what won't you find at that first Starbucks? What you won't find is a cup of coffee and a place to sit. You see, the original Starbucks did not start out, as we know, the third place. Right now, Starbucks teaches internally, and I know I managed Starbucks for years. Internally, they teach that Starbucks, what they truly deliver is a third place. They don't deliver coffee. They don't deliver frappuccinos. They don't deliver whatever you think of their pastries. They don't deliver any of that. And when they train people, what they deliver is the third place. And that is not where Starbucks started. Starbucks started 30 or 40 years ago when the founder at the time, no, not Howard Schultz, the founder at the time thought it was all about the coffee bean. I met another catapulter this week, and he said, hey, man, what people don't know is they don't know about coffee. And I wanted to have a deeper conversation, a vulnerable conversation with him to see, did you watch Starbucks' evolution? Because Starbucks already has gone through this where it might have started with this concept that it's all about the bean, and we're going to give people this experience of the coffee bean, and look at the bean, and let's roast the bean. Mass appeal doesn't care. It cares about having a third place to go. So the question then, was the founder before Howard Schultz wrong? Well, we could also have the insight, hindsight's 2020, and we could zip away to today and look back and go, this guy was so foolish, he made it about the beans. No, he was wrong, but it was right to be wrong. And when we say, when is it right to be wrong? It's right to be wrong when you take massive action. It's right to be wrong when you step out on a hypothesis and take action and learn something. It's right to be wrong when you take action. You know, same thing for Marissa and I. When we returned from the Dominican Republic, we started with coaching. And coaching is still the right thing for us. Coaching and training is still my calling. It's still what I do. But most of you know about Spark Sites. When we started coaching, we thought Lakeland is ready for good business coaches. And we were wrong. We had a good handful of clients that were willing to pay our hourly rate. And back in 2013, it was a stretch for local business owners to think that they wanted to pay $120 an hour for coaching, but they did. And it was successful from that part, but we didn't have mass appeal. It wasn't massively successful. And the argument we always heard back was, I am focusing too much on my bookkeeping, too much on my sales, too much on my websites. I can't even implement some of the things you're talking about. And as we looked at our own skills, we knew how to build websites. So we decided, well, let's build websites. It was right to be wrong on the timing for coaching in Lakeland because we just took action and we learned something. And in learning something, we learned that, oh, this is the other pain they're experiencing. And then we took action on that. We were also wrong then because we thought clients will never pay more than $15 a month for their hosting and for service or building a website. And we realized at the time, Lakeland actually pushed back on paying $15 a month for a new website. They did. We heard people go, that's too expensive. You know what people are paying today? Our nearest competitor charges $110 a month for our same service. Now, we charge between $65 and $70, depending on who's grandfathered in. And some of you who started with us back in the day still only pay $15. But here's the thing. We were right in the fact that we were wrong. Brittany says it's good to recognize when you were wrong. And this isn't just when we were wrong back then. We were wrong. But we were happy to discover we were wrong because we learned something new. And now our clients pay closer to $65 a month, and we're going to be going up for new clients. It's right to be wrong when you act instead of paralyze yourself on analysis. It's right to be wrong when you create a hypothesis, take action, and learn something new that you can improve upon. That is when it is right to be wrong. So let's talk about this a little bit. On top of most of you being petrified of being seen as wrong, to not look wrong, meaning to not look stupid in front of your peers, to not look dumb in front of the local business community so that you don't embarrass yourself or make a mistake or someone call you out in a local Facebook forum. You're not taking action, and what you're doing instead is creating the perfect plan. You're creating the perfect messaging. And though it is important to pause for messaging, though it is important to pause for planning, I present for your consideration the acceleration of the market demands that you not perfect your plan too much. You see, many of you have reached out to let me know that you've realized that you have got to finally change your life and change your business. Boom. Brittany says, it's good that you recognize that you were wrong. I think that too often people want to be right no matter what, even at the cost of their business. So they repeat the same wrong action over and over to make themselves right. They want to be right no matter what, even at the cost of their own business. So they repeat the same wrong action over and over to make themselves right. Now, I will tell you this. I repeated the wrong action over and over again, not to make myself right. There's another layer here that I would add to Brittany's riffing here. And that is we repeat the wrong action over and over again because we're simply afraid to being wrong at the next level. We're afraid of that rejection. For example, we built websites for $15 a month when we first started because we were just going to earn our money and go back to the Dominican Republic. But we quickly realized that's not what we wanted to do. So then we started selling, yes, $150 websites. And Marissa, my lovely wife, would say, you're selling this way too cheap. If we're going to stay in the United States, we need to actually sell higher. And I repeated the wrong action over and over again because I was afraid of the rejection and that our reputation would then be that we have too expensive of websites. Can you believe this? Even in 2013. Now we still have much more affordable websites than our peers, but I am trying to listen and act. I'm trying to hear, hey guys, this is the wrong pricing. Let's up the pricing and act immediately and get over the fact of whatever the client might think. I need that feedback loop too, but I can't tell you how often I've raised my prices, how few of them have said it's too high of a price. They might have said, I don't understand what you're offering me. They might have said, I don't think you can give me what you deliver, but they very rarely have ever said it's too high of a price. To Brittany's point, though, I don't want you to miss this. Too often you just want to be right. Too often you want to be a craftsperson or respected. So you ride this thing and you ride it to make it right. I'm going to change the market perception. It doesn't work that way. And I will say this as we transition into some of the quick points that I journaled this morning about how to correct that sort of negative cycle. The last thing I think you need to pay attention to is whether or not it's right to accept that, oh man, maybe I'm wrong. It's a good, noble thing to admit you're wrong. Yes. And whether or not you might be convicted that, oh, I've been trying to be right in the market and sound smart this whole time, and I really just need to flex with the market. I need you to hear a third factor here. The market is punishingly relentless right now in how it's shifting. It's hard to go outside the door and look around and you don't see a bar chart or a graph that points to you how fast the market is changing right now. But in nearly every industry that I am looking, the value proposition needs to shift. How do I know? I talk to a lot of people. I'm a talker. And when I go outside and I talk to people, when I talk to my business owner clients, I've got approximately 160, 170 business owner clients right now. And I'm talking to a lot of them frequently. And they are telling me, hey, your value proposition needs to change. Ooh. So I inquire what's going on with your business. And they're saying, well, this vendor is bailing on me and this client's bailing on me. And this often looks like a contraction. Listen, service operator out there, business owner operator out there, I know you might be getting new clients. Of course, I'm getting new clients. I could show you my pipeline. But your old clients that have been around for a long time, are you losing a little bit more than you expected in January? We already got through the worst of COVID, right? The market is shifting punishingly fast right now. And I say punishingly because if you are not paying attention to your client, you're going to get punished quickly. Yes, you might be getting new clients, of course. There are new businesses all the time entering your space. There are new homeowners hiring your service, of course, but don't just pay attention to the new sales. I'm getting new sales. Don't just pay attention to the new sales. Pay attention to the old sales and don't just chalk it up as, their business is going through. It's a cycle and they're cycling down. Stop it. The market is moving so fast, and I think you are sensing that you have got to admit when you're wrong and faster. The market is challenging you. Clients are getting squirrely, and it's time to solve this. And how are we going to solve it? Here's how we solve it. Change from being a perfect plan-oriented person to a hypothesis action person. Let's cover this. Number one, I need you to be absolutely present in the things you're doing right now. I need you to go out there and be completely present. And by present, I don't just mean be calm and zenned out in your chair. I mean that. But I mean, go to the networking group. I had to chide myself because I was pre-booked, and our local networking group met for the first time at Swan Brewing in a long time. First time since COVID for just a networking group. Spark Bookkeeping opened up their events again with a training, but this was just a networking. And I was committed in my mind. The next time I hear about networking, I'm going to totally go. And everyone knows this about me. When I get into managing kind of what we're doing in sales, I've neglected the networking big time. But I was committed, but I was pre-scheduled. Presentness means also being there. It doesn't just mean being there. It also means show up. You've got to be there. It allows you to see what's happening in the marketplace, and then from that perspective, look back at your own business and notice what is wrong. Presentness also allows you to de-escalate the internal turmoil of your mind and what's going on out there, and allows you to be present-minded to see what's wrong. Fun fact, for the few people watching on a Monday morning, I know I got started early. That's okay, my friends. Fun fact, being in websites, hear me on this, is wrong. I've been paying very close attention to what's going on in the market. And just offering websites is not going to cut it for the average web designer. They don't need it. AI and machine intelligence, not artificial intelligence, but machine-assisted web design is making really good web designs much easier. So being in the WordPress space, being in the website space, I'm convicted. It's not exactly the right thing, but it's right to be wrong, to recognize it and pivot. Do people still want websites? Yes. But the value proposition has to change. The perception of websites is that it's super complicated, so what's the easiest? WordPress isn't complicated. The marketing is saying that. So we're also getting behind, but the messaging is wrong too. I know this because I'm present-minded and I'm able to see it. So we've got to pivot and change. Are you able to make that honest assessment and to the world, to the camera, confess what's wrong about your USP? No, you want to be right. So you're just going to keep going. You're just going to keep going. We've got to pivot. Number one is presentness. Number two, you have to observe. So presentness is the present-mindedness and the showing up. Observing is actually noting the things that are really starting to be out of the channel of the market. There's a low end and a high end of the market, and that's that channel of what the market needs. And then there's a bunch of other outliers. Is your messaging in the middle of that channel? Guess what? That channel is always moving. And that channel represents what the low end of the market wants and expects from a unique service proposition, a USP. And the high end of that market is what the high end expects of a USP. And usually you want to fall to the middle high end of the channel of the market. But it's always moving. Expectations of clients are always raising. So can you observe? If you can be present-minded, show up, and also be present internally and calm, then you can actually make the observations you need to make improvements in your business. Here's the third point. State a hypothesis, not a plan. Listen, in today's changing environment, we can talk about the pace of technology, which is absolutely breathtaking. We can't fathom how fast technology is shifting. But I would dare tell you that the human market is changing and accelerating too. Not at the same pace as technology, but the pace of technology is sucking human market changes into an acceleration of its own. We're getting pulled into the tailwind. And so if you stick around until you have the perfect plan, unless you're completely craft and completely upmarket, if you are completely craft and completely upmarket, you might have the time to shape the perfect message, the perfect plan. But if your business depends at all on a slightly larger number of clients, now I wouldn't say mass market, but larger market, you need to operate on hypotheses and iterations, and not the perfect plan. Again, you need to look at your price point. You need to know your market. And so some of this is contingent that you make time for knowing your market. Do you know your market? Most people would have a loose idea of their market. It's not even a hypothesis. They'd say small business owners. I've been guilty of that for nearly a decade, of just saying small business owners. And I've got to change that. That's why I'm harping on these issues, because I am convicted. I'm journaling on these things to change. So if number one is cultivate presentness, be present, make the habit of being present. Number two, be present-minded. Number two is observe. Number three is state a hypothesis, not a plan. Stephen Covey said this in The 8th Habit. Stephen Covey said this: some may have a vision of what is possible suddenly burst upon their consciousness. But generally speaking, I find that vision comes as people sense human need and respond to their conscience and try to meet that need. Let's hear that again. Stephen Covey said, some may have a vision of what is possible suddenly burst upon their consciousness, but generally speaking, I find that vision comes as people sense human need and respond to their conscience and trying to meet that need. Boom. Lisa Welch jumps in. Lisa, I'm sorry, you posted this before. She says customer service needs to be exceptional all the time. And this is true. You can always carve a place out for yourself in the market if you have exceptional customer service. And we've got great customer service, but me and Kiana and Marissa are working all the time talking about how can we create next level, exceptional customer service. Then Lisa Welch says, don't be like AT&T, always rewarding the phone flippers instead of those who stay loyal. And that's difficult, but it's totally true. And she finally ends with many online platforms saying that they can do it all and no website needed, attempting to connect buyers and sellers. And this is true. And this is the message. It's not accurate. When I say it's true, I mean it's true that this is the messaging going on that Lisa's pointing to. This messaging is pervasive. It's not accurate. I just had a client go to GoDaddy for all of these services that they're offering and call me 3 months later and said, I just spent $500 a month, and then another client getting the same service. I just spent $1,000 a month, and I can't tell you what I've gotten for it. Can we go back with you guys? 2 people. Sure, of course. Why? Because they find out that we're honest. But this message is pervasive, Lisa. So good point. So real quick, number 1, be present. Number 2, observe. Number 3, state a hypothesis, not a plan. Number 4, here you go. Act on the hypothesis. Today, right now, book the classroom for your coaching session. Lisa Welch did this just recently. Get that book published. I'm working on that this week. All of our income came in. The month turned over. And now I've got cash that I can put towards finalizing the sections of my book. Book the classroom. Announce your need. Last week, I challenged myself on this, and I actually posted, I need book beta testers on our next book. And a ton of people showed up. Now I've got to show up. Act on the hypothesis. Take action now. That's number 4. And number 5, hear me on this. Make it, we call it, the word going around right now is normalize, right? Can we normalize being wrong? Can we make it acceptable that there is wrongness? Can we make that acceptable? We're talking about the perfect plan, the perfect message, the perfect product, the perfect service. No, especially when a business is in the early days. Can we normalize wrongness? What I mean by that is this. Can you go in with a hypothesis, not a plan? When scientists go, I have a hypothesis, let's do our experiment. Okay, this is what we learned from the experiment. Very rarely does someone say, it was wrong, get fired and leave. No, you say, I had a hypothesis. The hypothesis was proven true or wrong, or partly true or partly wrong. Can we make it okay to be wrong? Hey, Grant, you were wrong about this, this, and this. I love you. Let's make this change. You have superpowers. We need to compliment people and encourage people, and at the same time say, hey, this one part is wrong. Can we make this shift? Let's do this, this, or this. But too often it's like, okay, let's have a talk. And in there is this this label that you made this direction and the direction turned out wrong, and here's your wrong label, and you stick it on the shirt. Boop. Now I'm the wrong person. Now you're the wrong person. No, we're all experimenting. This is why I've adopted this in my journaling and to myself. I am guinea pig B. Me and Marissa are living a life of experimentation. That's what we're doing. She's hiking last night and tonight. 3 days of hikes. Part of the experiment. I'm iterating Spark sites right now. Part of the experiment. I cut about $1,000 worth of expenses last week because I'm pulling in to get ready for the new experiments. Is it okay and acceptable to be wrong? Turn to your partner. Lisa, if you're watching, turn to your partner. Brittany, turn to your awesome partner and tell each other it's okay for us to be wrong. As long as it was part of the experiment. Some of the other wrongs, you guys know what I mean. You guys know the difference. There's wrong. Don't be wrong. Don't be bad. But let's shape an experiment, and it's okay for us to shape an experiment and prove whether it's true or false. Go become a scientist in the thing you do. That's okay. Lisa Wells says, on it. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, it's okay for you to be wrong, and it's okay for me to be wrong. Can we now put on our lab coats? Can we put on our lab coats and shake hands, put on our lab goggles, and go, let's get down to it. Let's prove something right or wrong. You know, the definition of science is that which is disprovable. There's no qualitative assessment here. There's no you're a good human being or a bad human being to prove something wrong. Quit making these plans and these visions that have to be right in order for you to be seen as a good human. I have a vision for Spark, and this dynamic has really plagued me. And I'm preaching to myself this morning that it's okay to have a big vision for Spark, and it's okay to also be wrong in that vision. And can Spark shift into the experiment phase? Can we shift the vision to experiments and human excellence, experiments and human thriving? I think we can do that. Last one, number 6. Iterate. To Brittany's point, right here, boop, it's not okay to recognize you're wrong if you don't iterate. It's not okay for Elon Musk to figure out that on Starship number 9, when they flew it up, they tried to land it and it exploded, which was planned. It's not okay when they found out it was the valve to not fix that valve on the next flight. It's okay if something else goes wrong, but it's not okay if the valve goes wrong. So it is good that you recognize you were wrong. Next step, iterate. Articulate to yourself and the team. This is why Kaizen or 1% improvements are awesome. This is why Brittany and Adam and myself love ClickUp, because we can go, oh, crap, that process was wrong, and go, boop, boop, and we can fix our system and then train the team that the system's been fixed, or at least that part. Something else is going to be wrong. You've got to turn to your loved ones. If you have been guilty of being a perfectionist, you need to turn to your wounded loved ones, because we are wounded. You need to turn to them and say, I'm sorry. It is okay for you as a human being to push the limits and be wrong, as long as we improve on it. We're not going to get anywhere big. I'm reading right now The Innovator's Dilemma, and you know the ones that failed. We played a game last week. Guess this company, Digital Equipment Company was the company. That company only made incremental changes that had predictable outcomes. And it failed. Yes, they became a billion-dollar company, but it failed. And all things must come to an end. And so there's some Zen. Well, like, that's okay, Grant. Of course it's okay. But I'm not on that end of the curve. The companies that took off with mega changes are ones that took risks. And I'm sure there's a lot that took risks and failed. But the founders went on to build other companies. Failure is not only okay. If you are not failing, you are not daring mighty things. NASA's quote, if you guys watch the show regularly, NASA's motto, dare mighty things. Please today, normalize being wrong. Hey, we're not wrong. Let's get rid of the word. The hypothesis proved incorrect. Shape a new one. Change your language. Change your life. What hypothesis? Tell me in the comments. What hypothesis are you working on? We're working on the hypothesis, right, and we have been, that affordable websites And regular monthly service with Spark sites is enough to grow a company. We're proving that hypothesis is not correct any longer. It was in the beginning. Clients were fine with that. As long as they perceived that they were financing the cost of a big website and all this other stuff, we need a new hypothesis. What's yours? Be honest. I'm being vulnerable with you. Be vulnerable with me. What hypothesis have you been working on, and have you proven it accurate or partly accurate? I would say our hypothesis was partly accurate, but now when I say it's wrong for the general market. I think that hypothesis, here's my new hypothesis, it will still work in a certain niche, and it's long past time for Spark to niche, right? That's where we're at. So here they are. Number one, presentness. None of this is possible if you're not present-minded. If you're emotional, if you're high and low, if you're reacting instead of responding, if you have all of these sensitive triggers, you're going to miss every opportunity for presentness. And you're definitely not going to be able to. Number two, observe. Please observe what is working and what is not. Be allowed to say what is wrong and what's not working. Number three, state a new hypothesis, not a plan. Do not come up with a plan. Stop planning. At least for this season. We'll get into a planning season. There is a season to plan. There is a season to cultivate vision. That's in winter and early spring. We're moving from spring into summer very quickly. We're moving from a vision phase into a success phase. We're moving in from a spark phase to an ignite phase culturally. I'm feeling it. Can you? Meaning the pace is picking up. And in that world, you need to state a hypothesis. Make it a well-worded hypothesis. Make it very clear what you're experimenting with. And then execute. Don't worry about the plan. Execute the hypothesis. Number four, act on that hypothesis. Number five, normalize being wrong. Normalize and make it acceptable that the hypothesis was proven incorrect. It's okay and good what we learned, what doesn't work. Can we change now? Can we please change now? And number six, change. Iterate. Listen, I love you guys. I'm going to go head to coffee right now. If you need any help or support, listen, visit us for tools and training at stateofthespark.com, or visit the Facebook Goals and Gratitude group and ask your question. That's free coaching. We give free coaching. People say, can I coach? I say, you're part of the group. You get free coaching there. Let's make that happen. And remember the mission today, folks. Igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a phenomenal day. Take care.